additional tension between NATO and Washington. This will not weaken NATO. All this difference about issues encourages the Kremlin to pursue their offensive China, which is a much greater threat than Russia at the moment. I think the fact that the action has been taken is the most significant thing. This will not weaken NATO. This is a NATO alliance that has increasingly rotated troops, focused its attention on the East, and this is, in that sense, over the short term at least, not a military weakening of NATO. However, what it is an optic to have further tensions between the alliance and Washington, between the Trump administration and NATO. And in that sense, it's one more element on a pile of complaints that both sides have about each other. As you said, Chancellor Merz criticized President Trump's activities in Iran, military activities in Iran earlier this week. That's just one of several issues, important issues between the two sides. As we saw as well, the U.S. leveled increased tariffs on German manufactured automobiles as well. So it's economic, it's political. Military in many ways over the short term is the least of the alliance's concern at the moment. I don't think that it will. As you said correctly in your introduction, it's not clear whether this is a repositioning or a reduction, bringing them home. But I remind you that the U.S. has bases in Spain and Italy. The U.K. provides a very valuable support. Poland is now a major site for NATO troops, in large part American. And so this, in that sense, as I said, will not weaken the alliance over the short term, but the bigger problem is now the optics. Additional tension between NATO and Washington, additional tension between Germany and the United States, and the Germans have increased their defense spending in recent years, much to the liking of the U.S. administration. And this also sends a message to the Kremlin. Putin may not be able to decisively win in Ukraine, but he wants to weaken the Western alliance. And all this squabbling, all this difference about issues, some of which are important issues, encourages the Kremlin to pursue their, let's call it, hybrid offensive against the Western allies. It certainly does. And again, the bark is worse than the bite right now. We'll have to see how this plays out as we go ahead. Spain, of course, had a very public spat with Washington just a week or two ago. Prime Minister Meloni in Italy, widely seen as a friend of President Trump, also was critical of the Iran war. Now, that portends further tensions down the road, and I think those will come. The reduction or repositioning, whatever you want to call it, also suggests, again, a changing U.S. strategic set of objectives. That those troops, that 5,000, part of those 5,000, can go closer to China, which the administration sees as a much greater threat than Russia at the moment. So this is a political game, a contest. This is a military issue, but that's over the short term not as important as the changing priorities, apparently, of the United States. The fact that Europe now is talking about a much more independent defense posture, most notably in France, but in other countries as well. And the Germans now, of course, along an ally of the United States, are talking about playing a stronger security role as well. This suggests a very different set of European security architecture than we've seen really since the end of the Cold War. And I think it's not going to be easy to go back to what existed in 2022 and 23. This is, I think, a permanent change in that security architecture. The final form we don't know yet, but certainly it portends a more transactional view by Washington of our European partners. What can they get in exchange for what the Europeans get in return? And that's a very different kind of architecture than we've seen really since the end of the Cold War, where decisions were largely made by consensus. No longer.